Hey, this is Jason with 4W Knives. I'm gonna do something a little different today. I have an uncle who has requested a carpenter's marking knife. It's just used in place of a pencil to get tighter, closer results. Never made anything like it, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. I did a little bit of research, but nothing major, so this may not be the way it's supposed to be done, but I'm gonna give it a shot. So what I've got to do is this is 1.5 inches wide, 1075. I'm just going to mark the middle, which I've set the calipers at 3/4, and I'm going to draw a line on both sides, from both sides. That's going to give me my middle, and then I'm going to take this and split it. It's a pretty decent line there. So I'm going to split that in half, and I'm gonna make 2 of them. So that'll be 3/4 inch wide. If I cut it accurately, probably a little less than that. I marked it at 8 inches. I think that's probably too far, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off at 8 and then adjust. If I think it's too long, I'll just adjust. Still trying to decide if I'm gonna put a handle on it or not. What I think I'll do is I'll get it split, cut my 45-degree angle on the tip, and then just kind of see how it feels after I've got the bevel ground in. If it feels right, then I may not put a handle on it. If I think it just looks weird, I'll go ahead and put a handle on it. So just a little bit of exploratory stuff here, so let's see how it goes. All right, the ones that I looked at, some had what I would call like a dagger look, and some just had one angle across, and that looks a lot easier to do than the dagger one right now. So I've got this, I don't know if you call it an angle finder or what, but yeah, I've got it set at 45. I think that looks pretty much like what the pictures that I looked at. So I'm just gonna put a mark, cut that off, and then go try to grind some bevels is the next part that you'll see. The one thing on a marking knife is that the bevel is just on one side. I think they call it a chisel grind, I believe is what they call it. If it's not, please put something in the comments, let me know. That's what I've heard it called. But normally, like on a knife, you have a bevel on this side, a bevel on this side, and they meet to a point. Well, this will just be on one side. That way you can lay the marking tool up next to whatever you're using to mark it, and it'll lay flat. So it'll be something. I've done one on a, heck, I forget, a draw knife. That's what it's called, a draw knife. I did one on a draw knife once, and it turned out good. So I think I can probably handle this as well, just hopefully. All right, so I get to the grinder, and the first thing I do is just try to square it up. I know my cuts were not perfect, so I'm just trying to square it up, make it a little bit more uniform all the way down. And you'll also see me trying to increase the angle from that 45. I just wasn't real happy with it, and I didn't increase it a bunch, but I did a little bit. Once I do that, it's just pretty much just working the bevel. I get it at a fairly steep angle and just slowly work my way back a little bit, making sure that it was even from the heel to the toe. As you'll see here in just a minute on the next reel where it slows down just a little bit, it came out pretty decent. So once I do the heat treat, I'll come back and just do the finish grind, and I'll make it as sharp as I can. I think it'll work out. All right, so I've pretty much decided that I am not going to put a handle on them. The thickness of this, which is about 3 millimeters, feels great. I don't know if you caught it whenever I was doing the bevels, but I did, the first one that I did was actually a left-hander version, I would say. So I did the other one the opposite direction. I guess that's the advantage of having it in the dagger shape, but I've already got what I've got. As you see, I put a little lanyard hole in it. That's going to give them something to hang it onto or whatever. So I'll put one on this side, use my tap magic just to help save my drill bits. This is a pretty cheap drill, and it does go too fast for most drilling applications. But once I get the initial hole drilled, I'll go back to a larger drill bit and just, I'm not sure what you would call it, just cleaning it up a little bit, giving it a little bit of an indentation. I think it's going to add a little bit of a look to it. These are going to be pretty basic, pretty plain, more practical than anything else, but I still think it'll be good. I'll transition on the video from drilling this hole to doing my heat treat, and my plan is I'm going to heat treat it just like I would any knife. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 normalizing cycles where I'll heat it up to critical temp, hang it, let it air cool. Once I've done that 3 times, I'm going to go ahead and heat treat it like normal, quench it and temper it and everything. One complaint my uncle had about the ones that he's purchased in the past is the tip was always breaking. Well, if I do the proper heat treat on this 1075, that will not be an issue. Heat treat is always an important part of any knife, whether it be a marking knife or hunting knife, and hopefully I nail it and it'll be a good knife. Okay, got them out of the temper. They're looking pretty straight. I need to put the final edge and just clean them up. After that, I am going to round the ends. You can see I marked it a little bit, just used a penny to get the guideline to get the... Okay, I start off on the primary 2x72 with a 120 grip belt to get the end of the handle rounded and some of the scratches out. I was afraid it was going to overheat, so I went to the smaller, slower 2x72 I have, and I went through the progression of Trizac belts. I just didn't want to overheat it, and that has a little bit more control. Came out pretty good, and once I get the bevels down to where I want them, I use the 10-inch wheel to do all the finish sanding basically with the grinder to get all the lines running the same direction. I went all the way up to an 800 grit, rounded the edges, did everything I could to make it as comfortable as possible in the hand, and also to help eliminate any hand sanding later. Well, I'm not sure how sharp these are supposed to be, but this is pretty sharp. It's a little hard to get started, but once you get, and I don't know, I don't have much hair there, but you can see it just cleans it right off. So, don't know. I am going to try it out here in a minute, and I'll let you see that. All right, so just want to see how it holds up. I mean, it's cutting deep into it. Now, let's see. No edge deflection, nothing, so I'm guessing that's a good sign. Point still super sharp. Still cutting the hair. All right, I'd say that's a success. All right, got them finished up. Thought they turned out pretty good. I'm guessing, because I've never really actually held one in my hand before to see what they're supposed to look like. But it works. I did a little bit of hand sanding up to 400 grit just to smooth out the bevels and get all the scratches running the same way. Soaked it in some acid for about 8 minutes just to help form a patina. Thought that may help prevent some rust down the road. Simple project, didn't take very long. Way different than what I normally do, especially what I would do a video on. But sometimes these simple projects I think, are just as important as the more elaborate ones. Practical and common use oriented. So I hope you like the video, and I appreciate you watching.